Guys, you want to do a mic check? You're on YouTube Live, so be careful about what you say. And you just want to test your mics? You got to press a button like this. Hello, test 1 2 1 2. Yeah, you got to speak right into. Yep, I could hear you. Should I turn it up a little bit more? Yeah, you got to speak right into the microphone. And we tell Carl he's got to do the opening song.
Oh, I don't have to stand up on the table and sing my Wisconsin.
Yeah, Carl does the song and Gary does the dance.
Yeah.
We've got 3 minutes.
Yes, but people like to watch The Gathering. It's almost like Notre Dame.
Oh, that's just like the church in Milwaukee gets burned down.
Yeah, that Lutheran one?
Yeah. This one, wow, older, bigger and all that.
Yeah, a lot older. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, 1,000 years or something?
800 and some. There we go. Put it oh. Come on. I know, I can see that, Gary.
Yeah, Gary fell down.
There we go.
Karen, do you want me to use your phone to take pictures of the swimming?
Mine's out of batteries.
I'll take them in.
Is Patty here?
Yeah, she's here.
Oh, Patty will take pictures. He's got a big fan club here. Did you have your speech ready? I didn't hear. Did you hear anything from David?
I don't see him.
Do you see any county supervisors? Usually Darlene comes. I don't see any. You know what? Everybody's at everybody else's annual meeting. I have 7 o'clock, Mr. Chairman.
Good?
Yeah.
Do you have 7 o'clock on your phone?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I got this. Do I have this on? Yep, we're all recording. You're on.
Welcome everyone. I'm Carl Fortner, your newly elected town chairman. I'd like to call this Town of Vernon annual meeting of the electors to order, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. So we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the order of business is on your agenda. It's on this blue page. First, we're going to have a ceremonial swearing in, and then we'll have legislative comments by, I think, State Representative Chuck Wiggers is here. I don't see State Senator David Craig in the audience. And Waukesha County elected officials, I don't see anyone here, Waukesha County, so if they make it, we can
Put them on.
Then we're going to go through the 2018 financial reports. The audit is not yet completed, but we'll have a report for that. Presentation of service awards, we're going to delay that until November. The recipients are not here tonight, so we thought we'd better have a more formal presentation at our November meeting. Then we're going to go through town residents' concerns, and it's really your meeting, town people's meeting, and so feel free to come up and state your concerns and make motions and so on as you wish to. Then we're going to set the annual meeting budget for next year, 2020, and approve the minutes from last November. and we'll adjourn. So let's get started. Ceremonial swearing.
You swear to first. I'll come right up to you. Mr. Fortner, would you like to stand by the American flag and the town of Vernon over here? I need you to raise your right hand. I, and state your name,
Carl Fortner,
have been elected to the position of
town chairman.
and have entered into the duties and swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the said duties of that office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
I do.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your right hand. I,
Gary Wiley,
being elected to the office of,
Supervisor 2,
have entered into my official abilities and swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge said duties to the best of my ability. So help me God.
I will.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Supervisor Stewart.
Okay, brief comments. We can go backwards or forwards, one of the two. Jeff, why don't you start?
Just like to congratulate Carl Fortner and
Is this
Ray
mic-
Wiley and Wayne Dashik on winning the election.
Is your microphone
Looking forward
Sorry.
looking forward to working with you in the next couple of years here, hopefully.
That's it?
That's
Again, I would echo Jeff's comments and congratulate Carl and Lorraine for being elected to the town board. I want to thank the 13 people that voted me in, the mandate, but we're trying to accomplish what the best interest of the town of Vernon residents that we can.
It's always hard to be third and not sound like a parrot, but I'd like to echo the comments made by the other two gentlemen and wish everybody, or congratulate everybody for their accomplishment.
And I would like to thank all my supporters and the people who voted for me, and I'm here to represent all the town of Vernon, and hopefully in a very positive way, and look forward to the next 2 years and making a positive difference. I would also like to read a statement from Lorraine Dashik, who could not unfortunately be here tonight, so I will read it. I would like to thank the residents for the opportunity to serve as your elected treasurer for the last 9 years. While I wanted to express my gratitude in person, due to a family commitment, I could not be here tonight. I am looking forward to serving as your town supervisor. I appreciate your vote of confidence and support. Thank you, Lorraine Dashik. Okay, with that, legislature's comments, Mr. Wiggers.
Chuck, you want to grab the microphone? It's on. Oh, you need to face the crowd and be on camera. Everybody's got to see your smiling face. Just pull it out. Foonk. There you go. Then you got to turn around and face the camera.
Thank you for inviting all the legislators here today. It's always a pleasure to be here to witness local government. Up in Madison, we say it very often, the best legislators are the ones that are at the ground level looking up, and not the ones that are at 30,000 feet. Today we were in caucus, we had meetings on very important issues, including Foxconn, and listening to the people that have never served or really participate with local politics. They speak differently, and it's a little bit disconnected. So this is always a pleasure for me to be here. I was an alderman and a Washington County supervisor, so I know how the dynamics go, and when you have a change of representation, sometimes people are a little upset, but it's incumbent upon us to participate. I always win or lose in local, whether it's a land use issue or a policy issue or who to vote for. I've been on the local level on the side of winning and losing. I always say that the collective wisdom of the people of the community and those grassroots people that got up off their chairs, came out and voted, need to be respected, and it always ends up being not as bad as we thought it was going to be, and sometimes not as good as we thought it would be, but when people participate, you get the best product. So, I was encouraged to see that a lot of people got up and in this local election, and Big Bend, same thing. We see that happen from Mosquito, and we've seen a lot of changes in Mosquito, and so you guys have a lot to look forward to, but stay involved, participate, and play fair, play nice. And the same thing goes at the state level. If we have to fight for what we believe in, and so we have to be prepared with what we're saying, and it has to be done with civility. It was almost late coming in here because we have some pretty big issues that are very contentious in the Capitol right now, and a lot of it is budgetary. Do we participate with the governor? Do we not? Do we make deals with the governor? And most of the emails from the constituents in the 83rd Assembly District are saying, please hold the line on our conservative values in the 83rd Assembly District. And so when we start to talk about some of the deals that are being made, we have to be patient and prudent, and we have to do it with a spirit of fairness, that we listen and listen well, but we still have to be persistent on bringing the voice of our district all the way around the state, and then whatever happens, we have to listen. But so we have to take our own advice sometimes too. But thank you guys for being here and having me here, and that's it.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, and if we have legislatures or county officials that come in a little bit later, I think we can push them or move them around a little bit. Next up is our 2018 financial report, and the town audit is in progress. It's supposed to be completed in the month of May, and oops, I forgot to turn it back on.
Sorry. I'll be an egg.
Next up, 2018 financial report.
That is correct.
And in the back, people got it. This is where we're at. The audit is not completed. It's in progress. Should be completed in May. But this will give you a good idea of where the town stands as of the 2018 budget and the 2018 year-to-date results. Last November, I think we went through the 2017 in the November, and we'll do the same this year. The audited financial report.
Right. It's almost complete, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
But it gives your electors a good idea of where we're at.
Right. Next, I did say that we weren't going to do service awards, but Mr. Evinger is here.
Yes. He flew in from Eagle.
Flew in all the way from Eagle.
East Troy.
From the East Troy Airport. But Kurt, this is in recognition of 4 years of service.
Come on up, Curdy.
Congratulations on your... Oh, what the hell is this?
That's Kathy. It's your mother. Curdy, we'll get it official.
Yep. All right. You're going to swear me in there?
Did you want to make a speech, Curdy?
No.
Okay.
I had all my speeches all my life.
Let's hear it for Kurt. Yay, Curdy.
Okay, now it's the town people's citizens meeting here, and that's up next. Please come up and state your concerns or motions or business of the town.
Oh, come on, guys. Chief, say something. Yeah, just speak right into the microphone, dear.
Hello, my name is Julie Costello. I live on Woodland Court in Big Bend. I would like to sometime in the future have the town consider changing its town ordinance on limiting dogs, families to 2 dogs per household. From what I understand, if you have 3 dogs or more, it requires a kennel license, which is an additional application fee of $100 plus a $35 annual license. I happened to be at the Planning Commission meeting last week for my next door neighbor who has adopted a 3rd rescue dog, and she's not planning on breeding, she's not planning on doing anything, and I just think it's ridiculous for her to have to pay for a kennel license, and that when she is saving dogs' lives, she has plenty of room on it. I don't know, it just seems like the limit is too low. I did go to the Waukesha County website and look at what our neighboring communities have as dog limits. The town of Waukesha has no limit. The city of New Berlin has no limit. The city of Muskego limits to 4. The village of Mugwanago limits it to 3. The town of Mugwanago is based on lot size. The village of Big Bend is 3. Town of Eagle is 3. I just think that 2 is just too much for all the dog lovers that we have in our area. And we have Hoover's House that's in Genesee Depot. I happen to foster dogs for them too, and there are just a lot of dogs that would love loving homes, and if people have to get a kennel license to adopt them, I think that would deter them to some extent. So that is what I would like to bring up.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's an easy crowd.
No, very so far.
Oh, here comes somebody. Are you guys related? Aren't you? Is it?
Niece.
Aw.
I live Costello, Hilo Drive. I would like you to reconsider the charge for picking up brush. I just think that's a wonderful service, and you know, if you have a little pile, you're not going to pay $30 for it, and I just wish it would be something that we could consider tonight. Thank you.
This is new resident.
We live in an area very generous in yard waste recycling material. My question is, would Vernon have any collection site that we could share besides burning all those leaves at the end of the year and picking up all this waste and not knowing what to do with it? Like Waukesha has a collection center. Can we possibly consider sharing somehow that center?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel like I'm on trial.
You are.
Well, I'm not on trial, just TV.
I'm Carol Cody. I live on Hartwick Avenue in the township of Vernon. I would like to see a separation of the clerk's office and the treasurer's office. Not have that as one office, just for checks and balances. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good shot. Everybody wave.
Any other concerns or comments?
I'm on the list.
Okay.
Can we make sure the microphone is on? We're not hearing much of anything back here.
I got it up as high as I can go.
Well, they're not close enough.
Yeah. Shirley, when you speak, speak right into the microphone. Right there? Okay.
Low enough.
Pretty cool. It's probably the closest one.
First of all, I want to thank the previous members for serving for the last several years. Appreciate it. But I'm also concerned in regards to the brush pickup. I feel that there shouldn't be an extra $30 for pickup or $30 for wood chips. The burning permit, I mean, that's $10. I mean, yes, they said the taxes, or property taxes go up, but all those extra charges have gone up. And I know garbage pickup has gone up also. I mean, I don't put my recyclables out hardly once a month, if that. And I still feel there should be pay per use on that. I mean, if you fill your can, get charged for it. If you don't put it out, don't get charged for it. I mean, a lot of places have that. And also that extra $10 burning permit too. I feel that shouldn't be necessary. I feel if you want to burn, we should still call and let them know we plan on burning. I think that would be better than charging $10 and not calling. And I believe that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. I still feel the clerk and the treasurer should be two separate positions, elected positions, not appointed. Thank you.
Should the chief address that? The calling? I wonder if the chief should explain that calling thing.
Oh, calling for the...
Yeah, chief, why don't you explain that, how the calling helps you? Sorry.
What's the question?
The question is, the residents ask, that we get calls about that all the time. Can you explain how much easier it is for the fire department, or why you requested that we go to the permit instead of people calling in? Maybe if they heard from the chief, how that helps you?
We had several discussions in the past about the logistical complications that were created by people calling in on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning. We would get literally sometimes 100 phone calls in a day with people wanting to burn. With the fact that we have a countywide communications center, there was no way to verify whether someone was actually validly burning or not if someone else complained. We came up with a process where we opted to have a permit structure. Number one, because most of the residents in our community have shown that they're very responsible when they burn. They understand the rules, and they're usually they use a lot of common sense when they exercise their judgment. We felt it was somewhat of a reward, and we tried to work cooperatively with the community so that they didn't have to call in. It was also burdensome on our people because they spend essentially the whole morning answering phones when they're trying to do other things at the station, whether it be truck checks, maintenance, running calls, whatever. So we worked with the town board, and we came up with a process that basically filing for the burning permit would give you the authority to burn. That permit also outlined all the expectations so that every citizen in our community knew and knows what is required and expected if they choose to burn, and that's a right that, or that's a right that they have. So that's how the permit came about. Through this last year, we've had little to no issues with any basically abuse of burning. We've had some different instances where people have called to complain. In many of those instances, usually the people are actually within the parameters of the burning ordinance. It's more of an opinion usually that someone shouldn't be burning, or they're affected at some point by the smoke coming towards their house and they don't like that. We usually try to resolve those issues positively for everyone involved. And from our aspect, the burning permit's been a huge success for not only us but the community. And you don't have to make the phone call.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, chief.
The real issue is the 10 hours.
Yep.
I hear about that.
I don't know what. Any other comments?
More?
I'll be quick. I promise. Hey, John. Hi. John Gubacki, Hidden Lakes Drive. I would like the ordinance committee to review the high grass ordinance, because most of the phone calls I get by representing you as the weed commissioner are neighbors who live next to adjacent land, or people who have bought land and then they don't keep it trimmed and they want me to do something about it. And we have no ordinance about high grass. We have noxious weeds. So if there's dandelions in the whole thing and high grass, nothing that there's no ordinance, and a lot of people are pretty upset like that.
Yep.
You get called a lot of nice names on a Saturday morning. So maybe it's something we can look into, that if you own a piece of property, you have to maintain it, at least cut it a couple times a year, so you don't have tall, high, not just grass, let's put it, but that's all I'd like the ordinance committee to look at. Thank you.
Thanks, John. That is a biggie, Carl. That's a biggie.
Good evening. I have several issues. The first one is that I want to thank all the people who were watching on TV, or the people present tonight. I want to thank you for your support, and I want to thank you for your votes, and I want to be gracious to Gary Willie, and he is the winner. And to lose by only 12 or 13 votes, I think everybody will agree that it's kind of hard. Being said that, I'm very sincere about thanking you, everybody, because I also have ideas, and I will not limit them in the future, but I will limit tonight. And on the burning, since I listened for a while, on the burning permit, I did my homework, and all the surrounding communities have burning permit language, but we went a little bit further than necessary. And I say that because we should be realizing that the people of the town of Vernon have intelligence and common sense, and they know when not to use their burning barrels when it's windy. And I believe that we have not caused any problem with some of the comments about smoke and so forth. The burning permit does not recognize the larger property owners that try to keep their property along with the others in the subdivision to keep Vernon looking good and maintaining their properties as well. So I see no need for a burning permit or a fee. The next thing is the $13 fee for, help me now for a second.
Stormwater? Stormwater?
No.
Brush pick.
Brush pick.
That's $30.
$30. I think that the people have followed that as well in their cleanup in the spring and in the fall. And if you look in your yards, and I have looked in mine, and the wind damage to trees is picking up piles of broken branches and so forth. And I don't think we should discontinue what we've done in the past. Again, using common sense. In my observations, I only found one resident who went over the line and probably caused the conversation. To begin, the piles were excessive, and I had a solution for that, and that to my neighbors on Hilo, I'd be happy to share with them and alternate our piles if we got an excessive amount, and that to our I call them a team, but to our DPW people, they know how to pick up a clean pile and go on to the next one, and I think that there is no problem there, and I think we should remove that. So I guess I want to say thank you again, and I will have other ideas, but I'm just reflecting on what I just see here. It's consistent with what I see in other municipalities, and you all know that I do participate. I do keep my level of involvement up, and I find that this U-shaped
arrangement for the board in the future will, without a welcome sign, encourage people to be relaxed. And when you have a discussion, board members can then see and listen to the discussion across a table and not have to look down a line to see who's talking and what they're saying. A better face-to-face discussion with this kind of arrangement will fit in this room and will add to the proper discussion of an issue. So I would suggest that we should make a change to something like this in a U-shape and be able to talk to one another eyeball to eyeball and solve the problem. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Lots of time tonight.
I'm not on the list, but I'm hoping that's all right, Carl.
Don't need to be on the list.
All right. Sandy Porter, live on Maple Avenue. Concerning the combination of the clerk and treasurer's position, does that mean that the salaries are going to be combined into the one position also, so there's that much more of a raise?
It went from 55 to 66,000.
Right, and I know when I worked here, we were lucky if we got 1%. So I'm just a little concerned with the amount for that. Another concern I have is the fee for the burning permit. That should be covered with our taxes. We pay enough of those. Also the charge for the brush pickup. That should be covered with our taxes. Also, if you are in violation of the size, then they should be billed. Don't penalize the whole town for a few people. And I also have some serious issues with the border agreement. So I'm hoping that everything will be kept public and noticed, because my family are seriously impacted by that agreement. And we were not personally notified, which I feel is a grave injustice. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl, you might want to remind him of the vote on May 7th.
Oh yeah, there is a referendum vote coming up May 7th on the border agreement between Mukwonago and Vernon, called a cooperative plan on the ballot. That is the border agreement.
I just want to announce about the cancellation tomorrow. Just
we canceled it. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the public hearing tomorrow on the proposed amendments to the comprehensive land use plan. We were, because of the expiring terms of 4 of the Plan Commission members on April 15th, we were left with Mr. Millies as the only member. Unfortunately, that does not constitute a quorum. And so instead of having people show up to make comments and then have to show up again at a future public meeting, we thought it best to cancel it, and we'll reschedule it as soon as we get some new appointments to the Plan Commission, which will hopefully be coming this week at the board meeting, and then we can set a new public hearing and people can provide public comments on the proposed changes. We did have an informational session, I can't remember what that date is, at the end of March.
March 26th.
March 26th, and many people did come for information, which I thought was very helpful. So we will take that up in the future. In the near future, I would say, probably May. So sorry about that cancellation. Thanks for reminding me that's right.
I thought it a good time to do a commercial.
Yeah, commercial break.
Yes. Now back to the program.
Yes, now back to citizen comments and concerns.
Can I just raise a question from here, rather than a comment? Is it a fact that the division or the combination of the treasurer and clerk took place at the annual meeting last year?
Right, that is true.
There was a motion made and passed at that particular time.
Okay, the question is, how did, I think, I'll paraphrase this, how did we go from an elected clerk and an elected treasurer, separate positions that we used to vote on, to a combined clerk treasurer appointed?
That's correct.
And that happened at last year's annual meeting. That's one of the powers of town people at an annual meeting, is to combine those offices or not combine them and make them appointed or make them elected. And last meeting they were combined and made appointed, I think on a 13-3 vote.
That's correct.
So the town people did it at that meeting, or the town people that were present at that meeting. And there's other ways that that could have been done, but that was the way it was done last spring.
Can we do the same thing this year?
So the question is, can we make a motion and undo what was done last spring?
Correct.
They can make any motion they want.
Well, you can make any motion you want. Now, I did, we haven't run that down as a legal matter, but certainly if that motion is made, then we'd be almost compelled to do it, or to look into it to see if by doing that, we can undo it and make them elected, or make them separate, or both, really, make it elected and separate, or make it elected combined. So if you'd like to make a motion, we could certainly entertain that motion and we could all vote on it. So there were several comments about the combination, but now we're getting into, I think what you're asking is whether we go back to elected, and then secondly, there's this combination question. So those could be separate motions too.
They can make all the motions they want.
That's true.
They can
you can make all the motions you want. That is true.
Whether they're legally binding,
right.
We'll have
That's a different thing. Is whether they're legally binding or not. There's certain things that you can say for certain, like what happened last. That's directly in the statute. Other things you can make motions on, and it's not necessarily that clear in the statutes, and we'd have to go back and get legal advice on what is binding. And obviously, if it's binding, then it's binding. If it's not binding, then at least we know at least the wishes of the people here. Like all these comments, I've been taking notes, and certainly we'll get these on some agendas and committees of the suggestions made. So,
if
somebody's willing to make a motion, we can go to a motion, get a second, and have discussion.
I'd like to make a motion.
You have to state their name, so we know.
Okay, you need to state your name.
John Reitler.
Reitler.
Woodview Lane.
And the motion would be to
make it two separate positions.
appointed or elected? Appointed or elected?
Elected.
Two separate positions, so back the way we were.
Yes.
Second.
There's a second by
Don?
Don
Heron? I got
Heron?
that, yep.
I think there was a third and a fourth back there. And we'll open the floor for discussion. Now, I did pull some information off the Wisconsin Towns Association website before the meeting, and they did have a little write-up on it, so I'll start the discussion with some positives and negatives, and people can then join in. The differences between the appointed clerk versus where treasurer and the elected is, appointed clerks and treasurers do not have to be town residents. Elected do. Number two is appointed You know, its qualifications, job descriptions, wages, and benefits are set by the town board or town employees. Elected are elected by the voters, and they're not accountable to the town board. And the electors get to set the salaries. Obviously, removal from office, if elected, the voters have to do it. If appointed, the town board gets to. Elected is a 2-year term. Appointed could be 6 months, a year, shorter periods, whatever period of time that is agreed to with the town board. I think those are, I'm just scanning here, I think I covered them. I don't know if there's, you know, people were here last year, if they want to add to or subtract from. Supervisor Vernon?
I'd like to. One of the things that brought that about initially was we had a young girl come in during the elected process, and we had a forum. Karen was at the forum, the young girl was at the forum, I don't recall her name. And this young girl was a sales clerk. She had absolutely no background in accounting, business practices of any kind, other than being a store clerk. I think a lot of people were concerned that by vote, she could have been elected as our treasurer at that point in time with no experience. I'd like to see basic experience for these jobs. So one of the things we noodled over was the fact that if you appoint someone, you have the opportunity to do an interview. And with the interview, you qualify if that candidate's got some experience that you're looking for. If you take strictly by an elected position, you're assuming that someone was vetted out in the audience or with a forum and has some experience. Fortunately, when she was vetted at that forum, it was quite clear she didn't know what she was doing. She was talked into this by a friend, and luckily it didn't come to pass, because I think we would have had enormous problems with all the functions of a treasurer if that had been the case. So we voted to make those separate entities, to combine those separate entities, and gives us an opportunity to do a interview with the individuals, find out if they have the skills necessary to do the job. And that goes for both halves, clerk and treasurer. These are getting more and more complicated every year, as I'm sure Karen could admit to you or inform you. And that's all I want. I'd like to educate the people to that point before you make another vote, so that we don't go into this uneducated and come back later and say, oh my God, we got a treasurer that doesn't know what she's doing. Which is a real possibility if you go to an election, don't have a forum, don't have a question and answer session with them, and don't get some feel for what their capabilities and background are. That's all I have on that. Thank you.
Audience, yes, Ms. Porter. If you're going to yell, I'll come up here.
All right. For one, I was elected treasurer way back when. I think that was 2009. I had the skills. But if people do not like you, they will spread rumors and do everything they can to make sure you do not get elected. That is what happened to me when I went for clerk. I had all the credentials. I had been schooled. I had been certified by the state and internationally. I had my name and reputation smeared by certain people. That election process I do not agree with. So whether you have the qualifications or not is irrelevant. It's if you have the right people behind you that'll back you. If you have people who don't like you and spread rumors, you don't have a chance. And I had all the qualifications, and like I said, I didn't get the vote because people didn't like me. And they complained about all the money spent on my training. They said it was, excuse me, a waste of taxpayers' dollars. To me, the waste was not electing me to do the job I was trained for. So that's one of the downsides of elections, is it's a popularity contest. But I do believe that the positions should be separate for countermeasures, balancing. I don't like the idea of a combined clerk-treasurer. I know it's done in other municipalities. I just don't want to see it here. They can be appointed, but I still think they should be separate. And those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Yes, sir.
I got a question. For the elected official on that position.
Who is that?
Is there,
Can you come up with a, thank you.
Oh, we need his name.
And you, and
is there
state your
certain qualifications that are needed to run for this election?
No. Yeah, you have to be a town resident. Over age 18, I think that's.
But there are state statutes that have to be followed, so you have to understand what your job is.
Right.
Okay.
Sir, I'm sorry, what is your name?
John Reitler with an R.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Carl, if I may, I think at the time it was brought up, Karen brought it up, and I think the Towns Association did also, that in Waukesha County, I think we were one of the few in the county that still had separate treasurer position.
The only one. Waukesha, Racine.
The trend has been to combine those positions for efficiency.
They're appointed. Most are appointed.
Well, according to this Towns Association website, it says how many appointed and elected town clerks and treasurers.
Throughout the state?
Yeah, throughout the state.
Right.
Throughout the state.
Yeah, this was just county.
Yeah, you were just, and this statistic is out of 1,249 towns. There are currently 240 appointed clerks, 800 elected clerks, and these are towns, across the state. And there's a lot of towns that are several hundred people too. 165 appointed treasurers, 875 elected treasurers, and 126 appointed clerk treasurers, and 102 elected clerk treasurers. But that's across the state, no stratification as far as town size, over 2,500, under 2,500, and all that. That's just right off the website. So.
Another problem by having an elected position, they're only required to do what is required by state statute. They don't have to be here 9 to 5. They can be here as little as they want as an elected position. And having being an appointed position, at least the board has the oversight of what's going on in the office, and they're responsible to the board, so we make sure they're doing their job properly. Also, with us being out of county zoning now, there's a lot more responsibilities to the clerk's position than what previous was also.
Further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, Bill. At the last meeting of this subject, I was one of the 3 people that did not want to, with the majority. It was a very unusual meeting, and I have to go back to what's behind me and what's watching, is that we have the town of Vernon here without a welcome sign. And a welcome sign is what the next board is going to do in terms of being friendly with the people and listening. And I feel that experiencing that last meeting, there was very little representation. And it was a lopsided representation. And I think that the motion tonight will return to stating what the responsibilities of a clerk and what the responsibilities of the treasurer are. And a review by the town board, the new town board, as to what salary and benefits apply, and that we be given we give to the people a chance to review the qualifications that the board wants to look at, and with the Towns Association and the state statute, that we go back to electing both the clerk and the treasurer. And it's a much fairer position. And I think that we will get the town back to supporting the board and coming to meetings and being a part of an active discussion of good ideas. So my opinion is that we approve this motion to go back to 2 elected positions.
Just to clarify, Rodell, since the last meeting you said was lopsided since the vote didn't go your way, you have to say it's not lopsided this meeting.
No, I think there's a cross-section here tonight, Jeff. And
I don't believe so.
And I'm trying to observe from my usual position in the back of the room. I do think that there is much more of a distribution of ideas and thoughts, where the other was 13-3. And I clearly remember that situation, and I don't want that to, as a citizen of the town of Vernon, I'd like to see the residents come to meetings, be welcomed, and they will be welcomed, and good policy will come out of those meetings with their ideas and a town board that's willing to look at ideas.
If I may. I have one question, because you said we have an opportunity to create what we want to see in a treasurer. No, we don't. Not if it's elected. Here's an example. We had 2 forums. You didn't show up. This other supervisor didn't show up. When are we supposed to ask the questions? So, Rodell, that's a misstatement.
I don't
as
think
an elected
it is.
official, you don't necessarily get an opportunity to, question those people and learn what their qualifications and skill levels are.
Ed, are you finished so that I don't interrupt you? I think that by encouraging people to come at a reasonable time in the day after a family meal, or drive home from work and come to a 7 o'clock meeting is much more in their favor, and they will come because they have a feeling now that they will be heard, and there will be adequate time for expression of those things. And so I hope and I pray that town board will put the welcome sign up, and we will get qualified people to participate and come to timely meetings. And your subject matter is also, I can't answer all the things that I have concern about. I think I mentioned a few, and I think that I look forward to a change, a new Vernon, a new town Vernon government that requires effort, but good decision making. Thank you.
Brett Mahalik, Town of Vernon, Longview Drive. I was a prior town chairperson, and at that time we had both elected clerks and treasurers. And prior to that I was a supervisor, and the situation was still the same thing, but I think there was like 2 years maybe difference from my being a supervisor and then being a town chair. During that whole time, I never experienced any problems, with the situation as it was with the 2 separate positions both being elected. And I think that depending on chemistry and things of that sort, I think can make a big, big difference as to the way things unfold. All right. So from my perspective, I would be in favor of the two separate elected positions. And then I don't know how to deal with this, how to deal with the salaries and all the rest of that stuff. That's going to have to go to a personnel committee or something to get that back on the table. So I'm not in favor of the positions being combined.
Okay, thank you.
Jim Floney, Center Drive, literally across the street. I know we got a motion on the floor, but I'd like to thank the previous board members for the years of service, even though I didn't agree with many of the philosophies, and congratulate the current winners, and look forward to some positive changes in the town, and how one of the reasons we don't have a welcome sign, people didn't feel welcome coming in here. That's just a personal opinion. Back to the agenda. If you'll remember, some of you may remember, when I was the chair, one of the things I tried to do was make the clerk and treasurer position appointed. Because I, for one, agree 100% with the fact that then the board would have the ability to determine qualifications that they need in the town, as opposed to being a popularity contest. Never did I consider merging those two positions, clerk and treasurer. Now, if the gentleman who made the original motion would consider modifying that motion, and this would be something you'll have to figure out how to do if you want to do it. To me, it makes more sense to have appointed positions, but separate positions. Combining clerk and treasurer is like having the fox watch the hen house, or whatever that saying is. You get some automatic checks and balances, and especially with our town going, we're out from under the county for the building inspection stuff. That should put a ton more work on the clerk. I don't know when that clerk would have time to do all the treasury stuff accurately. So, I don't know if I have to make a motion to request modification to split the, lost my train of thought.
Make an amendment, Jim?
To split it into two issues, appointed versus elected, combined, or two separate positions.
You can, and then we're going to be amending motion after motion. It seems to me
Sure.
it might be easier to call the question on the elected versus appointed, and then you can make a motion on if it fails, then make a motion to separate the two positions as appointed position. If it passes,
right, it's a done deal.
Then they're elected and they're separate. Now, if on legal review we can't do that, and that won't take effect right away. It'll be at least next spring, and maybe one.
My contract's only to December.
Well, so maybe next spring.
December.
Right. And maybe you still want to make that motion in the event that somehow we can't go back to elected. We can at least go to
appointed
separate.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen's right. She's got a December 31 this year contract, and it is combined by town resolution last year. So maybe that if they're going to be separated, maybe that has to start on the 1st of 2020. But whether the town has the direct authority to order Vernon to do that, that's a legal question. I don't know the answer to that. But certainly, if they do, then we have to do it. If they don't, we can certainly consider it. And there'll be another town meeting in November. And by then, we will have an answer, one way or the other.
Okay.
So maybe what we should do is hold that motion, vote on the elected, and then...
Yeah, that would be fine.
Otherwise, we're going to get
One
confused
quick
here.
question off topic, partly. We keep talking about legal, whether it's legal or not. Who's our town attorney?
John Macy.
I'm sorry?
John
Macy.
Still?
Yes.
Okay, and just,
Yes. That was on an agenda, but nothing was done, Jim?
okay.
Right. And we'll have it on the agenda for this Thursday as well, just to make sure that's clarified.
Okay.
And I think that's important.
Thank you.
I'd just like the residents to know too that anytime a check is issued, the board sees it. It takes 3 signatures before the check is issued. Every meeting we're approving APs, which are brought to our attention. So we're reviewing all these checks that are going out and charges. It's not something we don't know what's going on. It's just that one person is issuing these things. And when we did have the 2 positions, clerk and treasurer, the clerk was the one who created all the APs for us and the checks and got them out. It wasn't the treasurer doing that. The treasurer's job is really very limited in that treasurer position according to state statute. Most of the work was being done by the clerk.
We were gonna have 2 votes, right, on my motion?
No,
One
there's-
to split it, and one if we wanted elected, and one...
No, there's one motion on the
I thought you
floor.
made a
Or is it
motion.
all one?
Yeah, we had a...
The motion was to have the 2 separate positions elected. That's the motion that's on the floor now, the motion that's been made and seconded.
Okay. Could I change it to vote on both? 'Cause I definitely want 2 different positions.
And that's what your motion states, to...
Yes, but I'm not sure.
You can withdraw your original motion if you like to.
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw that.
He'd have to withdraw the
What if-
second.
Well, you have to withdraw the second. The other thing we could do is run yours and then make a new motion
I'm gonna make a new motion.
after the
There's a motion on the floor, sir?
motion on the floor. So once we take a vote,
So,
then we can make a new motion.
yeah, so if we vote this motion down, then we can make a new motion.
Right.
I have one question. I don't know what your name was. Sandy. She said she felt like it was a popularity contest in the voting process.
Correct.
Don't you think it could be popularity question if it's an appointed position also?
Depending on the people on the board, yes.
Oh. All right, I just want to know how you felt about that.
Mr. Heron.
I was hoping to avoid this. Don Heron, Central Ridge Road. I guess I'm here to argue for the capabilities of the electorate. I believe that it is ridiculous to say that the electorate is not informed enough and diligent enough to select an appropriate treasurer and an appropriate clerk. To suggest otherwise is to suggest that you have an electorate that's ill-informed, uninvolved, and non-participant. Unfortunately, those are words that have happened, but it's not been because of the wishes of the electorate. It's been because of the actions of the past board. Given the opportunity, I think anybody in here would know the difference between who would be a good treasurer and who would not. And I believe that any one of us would know who would be a good clerk and who would not. And not a one of us, I don't believe, I can't speak for everyone, but not a one of us would be irresponsible in exercising our responsibility to do that. It seems ridiculous, I realize, to go back to the old system. But the old system is not as bad as you make it out to be. The idea that the electorate can't select capable persons is ridiculous. And the fact that the electorate can elect them gives the electorate a great deal more control over what happens in the town of Vernon. The more we hand off the responsibilities of governing the town of Vernon to the board or the clerk or the chair, we give up our responsibilities as citizens to be active and to make a difference. I, for one, am not willing to do that. I believe we ought to elect our officials. I believe we ought to hold our elected officials to a much, much higher standard than they have been held in the past few years. And I think you now have the chance, as this board begins to change, to make some decisions on your own about which side of that you wish to be on. And I would say now is the time for the town of Vernon to go forward. I think going forward means involving the electorate in meaningful ways. And I think it involves the board being obviously open and informative to everyone in the town, no matter whether you like them or not, can disagree with them or not. Everyone has a right to have their input. And protecting this as elected positions, I think, is a part of protecting that right. So while he would like to withdraw his motion, I do not wish to withdraw my second, because I think it is the best and most effective way to move this town forward. And believe me, we gotta move forward, not backwards.
Ms. Porter, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all.
Can we have the motion reread, please?
The motion, the last name, is it Mr. Rigler? Reichler requested that the positions of clerk and treasurer be separate elected positions.
After his comments there, he has convinced me. He's right. If we don't do our looking into our candidates and just vote for our popular person, we're not doing ourselves any favors. So by electing who we would like, who should be qualified, who we should be able to investigate a little bit, we have the power to put somebody we want in there who's going to affect us. So we're not going to just throw anybody in there, in my opinion.
You know, part of it, I really have a problem with when a flyer goes out like this for the election, calling the current board is dull, except for Ed Moline, and it's unprofessional, narcissistic, and in line with traditional definitions of lunacy. Down farther, it says, don't let this narrow-minded, no-talent ass clowns run the board anymore. When flyers go out like this to the people, you don't think it's swaying voting? It was anonymous.
Yeah.
There's no credibility to it.
And it also went out with the mailer that was by Marie Kumashek. It was included with that. So I don't know who mailed it, but these did go out. And they also used the town of Vernon's address as return address.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You know, so stuff like this takes place. You know, allowing the board that you elect, that you vetted, you feel is confident, let us do our job by controlling the clerk's office and treasurer position. You know, the same goes with the DPW and fire chief. You know, you entrust us to do our job. There's 5 of us on here. You know, to avoid stuff like this and becoming a popularity contest, you know, we have the power, if the clerk or treasurer or appointed position isn't doing their job, we can terminate the position and hire somebody else. As an elected position, we don't have that choice. And with the elected position, you're never quite sure what you're getting. At least with the town board doing an interviewing process and opening it up to residents outside of the town also, we can get a pretty good pool of candidates. Probably much better than what's just in the town of Vernon. So that's the advantage of allowing the town board to appoint the positions.
Supervisor Moon.
Can I add a comment to that? One comment to add to that. When you talk about controlling the position and having the authority to control it, as an elected treasurer, we have nothing to say about what that person does. So when that person chooses not to show up and mail checks out from the bank that were due to go back to the electorate, and we get a call from a gentleman that says, hey, I'm gonna have to borrow money to make my house payment because I was expecting my check to come back now, and the town board has to come in on a special meeting to correct that problem, that's where the issues lie. And that happened this year. We had several checks that did not go out. They sat in the drawer for too long, and people were needing those checks. So we held a meeting. We responded to the public, held a special meeting to get the gentleman his check so we'd resolve the issue. The board, and I've been on it for over 2 years now, we've had public comments at the beginning, public comments in the end. So when you say you can't be heard, I'd ask everybody here, how many of you showed up for any meeting other than this one this year? How many? How do you watch it? Do you watch it on TV? I'd like to know if we got a good TV audience.
Can't hear you.
You can't. Well, hopefully we fix that with the new microphones, I guess. But I'm just wanting the public that's aware of what's going on, and that's why I made the comment. It's that type of control that we'd like to have, where we could say, okay, this is what should be done, this is the day it should be done, and please make it happen. Right now, we have no authority to make those comments or decisions.
I'm sorry. Julie Castello. I just want to say to you personally, Jeff, that I'm totally offended and find it unprofessional that you would bring up something that is not been signed. You bring it up at a public meeting. Obviously, it is not anything that was distributed by Marie Kumershek, because it would not have been, they wouldn't have said that this is anonymous and that included her. I mean, nobody is going to do that. No one's going to believe that. So that first is totally unprofessional. And second, that you think that there is not anyone qualified enough in this town of Vernon to be in this position, I find very offensive as well.
No, not to qualify. You can open up the pool much larger by going outside the town.
That's not what you said.
I have something to say about that letter also, that came out after election. How many of us in here received that letter after election?
No one on Maple Avenue got that letter.
No, I got it after the
After, I mean, how many people received it at all?
I think
certain towns.
I think they're all back in my office.
There were people that have moved and it went to their old addresses. Doug Salentine, who lives in Arizona, got one. Now, where did those addresses come from? Not the current records.
I have no idea.
Not the current records. You know, several years ago, when Dave Nowicki was running for some office, I don't remember exactly what year it was, he served papers on me for distributing something that I never saw until the fellow from Waukesha Sheriff's Department came and said I had to appear in court for a letter that I supposedly distributed. I never even saw it till they presented it to me. So where did that come from? It's not, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how many people got these either, but there's been quite a few who returned to the town here because they used the town's address as
Two of
a
us
return
in
label.
this room received it. So how did they pick and choose who got it?
I have no idea.
You know, and it was from old records, addresses. You know, where did it come from?
I would like to know that also.
Yeah, but I mean, like I'm saying about Nowicki's, I've been serving those papers on me, which I knew nothing about it until they presented it to me at the door saying I had appeared, and I said, I never saw it, and I was innocent.
Mr. Chairman, one of the letters that I received today was from that was distributed, went to Advanced Disposal. I have about 7 letters that are mailed out to Village of Big Bend residents. And just so the residents know, I did let the Wisconsin Elections Commission and the District Attorney's Office, I turned all that information into the District Attorney's Office because nobody here is qualified to look into that.
Even the return address on the envelope, I mean, it did say Town of Vernon.
Yes.
But the printing that was on it was very small, like typewriter type print. I mean, it was not like your mailing, the Town of Vernon.
I didn't mail it.
No, I said it was the Town of Vernon's mailing. You know.
Yep.
So.
Well, and I'm not sure what the relevance of that flyer is to the discussion on elected clerks, but I will assure everybody that that flyer, even though it has my picture on it, did not come from me, did not have anything to do with it. It was brought to my attention, and the day after the election. Those were the envelopes that I saw, which are being returned to the town hall because of the improper use of the town's return address. The postmarks were all April 1st. It was designed to be received after the election. So, and they're using my picture without my consent. I would like to know who sent it out. Because I had nothing to do with that. And neither did Mrs. Kumershak or Lorene Dashik or, the other people listed in that flyer.
Back to the matter regarding appointed versus elected. When I resigned to become deputy clerk, the treasurer had been appointed by the town board, and then she continued to run for election. So if you're saying appointed is much better because you can figure out all the qualifications, I can tell you right there, it wasn't done. Appointing versus electing, I'm sorry. There can be a lot of miscommunication and not knowing.
Mr. Mahalik.
There's been a lot of good discussion on this topic, and I don't want to get too technical, but I'd like to call the question.
Okay, are we done with discussion? We'll call the question. One more, Mr. Wagner.
Merle Wagner, I live in the town of Vernon. I've been around here for a number of years, involved a little bit in the town. I appreciate all this input myself. It's interesting that people can show up for this, but they can't show up for regular town board meetings, and I guess that's because we don't have a welcome sign out there. Well, I don't need a welcome sign to find the town hall, okay? I would love to, and I don't think we can do this, but with all the consternation that's gone on here tonight, you're trying to get to the question, and it's about time, but that's not the point. The point is, this should be amended, okay, so that everybody should take all their thoughts, go home and put them on paper, pros and cons, come back at the November meeting and make a decision so that everybody in this town knows what the heck is going on. Because right now they don't. And I'm not making an opinion whether, I think I thought about this too, elected versus appointed. Appointed, you normally will get a better quality, normally, okay? Not saying that always happens. I did hiring, firing in business, okay? You don't ask somebody, can you do the job? No, and there isn't any outline outside of state statute. How are these people going to figure out who's proper and who isn't? They can't without something to help them do that. And that's a good way to do that is to postpone this as an amendment to November. Put all your thoughts down, then let's have that discussion and make the decision. But to do it haphazardly and crazy is exactly that, crazy. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion, we'll call the question. Okay, let's call the question, maybe read the motion. We know what we're voting on, and then we'll have a by hands. Residents
Yes,
only.
we try by hand.
Yeah.
Yes. And as the chairman stated, it can be only residents that are voting, so I'm watching you, Alex. The motion is to vote for separate elected clerk and treasurer positions in the town of Vernon. All in favor? Oh,
Sorry. All in favor, raise your hand. One hand.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 21. Do you have 21? 22.
All opposed?
I have 19.
Motion carries.
Yes.
22 to 19.
Yep.
Okay, now we had other discussion about other motions. One is to separate the two positions. So if somebody wanted to make a motion for that, we can, I think we've had a lot of discussion on that, but we can open discussion after that too.
Wasn't that in that motion?
Well, that was. but
Elected.
It's elected. So in the event that somehow we cannot turn it back to elected, or turn it back to elected sooner rather than, as in January 1, 2020, or April of 2020 versus later, there will be a period of time where perhaps we could separate the positions, appointed positions.
First part of the amendments, or my motion was
To separate.
Isn't that what we just voted on?
Well, separating it by election. and
Yeah,
election.
separate elected positions.
Separate elected positions. So, somebody wants to make a motion, Ms. Porter?
I so move that the positions be separate and appointed only if there is no way that we can have the elected again.
Is there a second? Second, no second? Second for discussion only?
I'll second it for discussion.
Second for Mr. Wagner. We've had a lot of discussion on separate versus combined. We'll entertain more discussion if necessary, otherwise we'll take it to the vote. So discussion on separate and combined. I know there's a lot, we had discussion, people said they should be separated, internal controls for one. And the response, of course, even if it isn't, I think this town board, at least I'm committed to reviewing our internal policies as far as accounting and check signing. And it's a job for the finance committee to start with. And I have talked to Howard, our auditor, about that already. So should we call the motion?
Or ask for some more discussion?
Any more discussion?
I don't know that there was a second. Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes, there was a second by Mr. Wagner.
Just for discussion.
Could you read the motion again, please?
The motion was by Sandy Porter to have the positions separate and appointed only if there is no way that they cannot have elected positions. Seconded by Merle Wagner. For discussion.
Okay, no further discussion, we'll call the question. All in favor by hand vote.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, I gotta start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. So there's a lot of people not voting.
Rest of them not voting.
Yep.
So motion fails,
Fails.
15 to 12 on the hand vote. Okay, further motions or discussion or concerns from the floor, from the people? Yes, Ms. Porter.
I came to a meeting, they say how people don't attend the meetings. I came to a meeting here a couple weeks ago, and I didn't see anything in the paper, but I know the meeting started at 6:30. I came over, and they asked me what I was doing here. I said I came for the meeting. They said, oh, it's over with. We started at 5:30 tonight.
They're all posted.
I'm not sure what meeting.
I don't know either.
The plan commission? Joint.
Judy, was that a plan commission meeting? Do you remember? Was it a plan commission town board? We did have an early one. I can look it up.
Mr. Mahalik.
This is just a footnote to all of this conversation. I hear comments about people not being here at the town hall for a meeting. There's something that we have called television. Okay, and that television is live streaming, okay, this meeting. And to hold it against the residents for not being here when they have alternative ways of looking at this meeting, I take as an offense. And if we don't want to have the TV, fine, then you can make that comment. But with that TV, puts it out on the airways, and I think that satisfies what we need to be here for.
Right, live streamed on the internet too.
And sorry, yes, and YouTube.
TV and YouTube.
But the comment was more that we're not listening to the public.
No, please. People, it was just said that people don't attend the meetings.
You can't get their input by watching on TV.
But we have an opportunity to see what's going on at
Right.
the meeting, and then we can come to the next meeting if we are so choose to see what it is that's going on.
And I do get a lot of people questioning me at work because they see me and, hey, what was this about? They'll find me and ask questions. But without being on TV, yes, that informs you, but we're not getting public feedback on what we're doing.
I just take offense at the comment that we don't know what's going on.
Okay, further comments? Motions? Concerns?
One thing, Mr. Chairman, we've had a number of good discussions and good points. What are you going to do about it? What's the process? I've sat through a number of these types of meetings. Yabba yabba, we talk about a lot of things and nothing gets done. It kind of drops away. I'd like to see the meeting minutes come out as soon as possible, and then have some plan on your future board meetings, how you're going to attack these things that we brought up.
I would certainly put it on the agenda. I've been trying to take notes, and we'll have minutes. And if we can get those minutes posted, even if they're unapproved,
There.
you know, we can get them posted and people can look at them, and then we'll get them on board agendas and go through them. You know, maybe not all in the same meeting, but we certainly have to. We take them. At least I will take them very seriously. And there's some very good ideas. They've all been pretty good ideas. So, we will put them on board agendas and discuss them and take appropriate action. Some of these might go to the committee, and then they'll have to come back. But that's my plan. Any further comments, discussions? So the next item up is setting the 2020 annual meeting date to be held at the Vernon Town Hall. That's typically the third Tuesday in April.
If the electors set at that date, there's no publication done. It's done within the statutory requirements, but they can pick any date in April, after the election.
After the election.
I'd like to make a motion on the brush pickup fee and the burning permit fee.
Make a motion to...
Eliminate it.
Second it.
Okay, there's...
Jim, was that you?
Yes.
Okay.
We're a little bit out of order, but we'll entertain that motion. Okay, so there's a motion to...
And Ruth, that was you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Eliminate the brush pickup and chip delivery fee, both.
Yes.
And there's been a second.
And the burning permit and the burning permit.
And your motion includes and the burning permit fee?
Yes.
Okay, all three fees.
Okay.
Cable franchise fee, you want that in there? Did I hear that was a yes?
Ruth, was that in your motion? Was that in your motion? Was a cable franchise fee in that motion also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that approved by the second?
Okay, we'll look for a second.
Jim, do you agree with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have a very friendly motion and second policy. But that's fine.
And burn. Okay.
Okay.
Want to call for more discussion?
Do we need to discuss, we heard earlier discussion about the fees, and so I know at the finance committee meeting when at least the brush pickup, there was some discussion there too, and you know, the board has debated that in the past. We could certainly, I mean, this is not going to be binding on the board, but it will certainly be advisory, and we will be picking it up. So we can have further discussion, or we can move to vote. So, discussion.
Call for the question.
All right, let's call the motion. So you want to read it back?
The motion was to eliminate the franchise fee, brush pickup fee, wood chip fee, and the burning permit fee.
Okay, all in favor by hand.
I have 24.
Opposed?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14.
Okay.
So motion carries.
No, motion carries. Further motion before we set the meeting date for next year. Okay, set the meeting date. So typically the third Tuesday in April. I think this is the third Tuesday in April.
Yes, the electors said it at the last meeting.
At the last meeting.
And
has
that's
it ever been set for a date different than
Oh,
the third Tuesday?
yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
has it? Yeah.
The only thing is the public notification. The third Tuesday next year is April 21st, 2020. If you want it on the statutory date of a normal annual meeting.
Yes, April. What did you say, April 21st? Right?
Yep, that's the third Tuesday.
That's the third Tuesday. And the election that year would be, the spring election would be April
7th, April 7th.
April 7th.
I'll make that motion for that date.
Okay, there's been a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Got Nicole.
Get 'em.
Got it.
Okay, so there's been a motion to set the 2020 Towns Annual Meeting for April 21st, 2020.
7 o'clock, 6
Oh.
o'clock, what?
Yeah.
7?
For 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
On the third Tuesday.
On the third Tuesday in April. Okay, so that'd be April 21st. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion. By hand vote. All in favor?
3. Oh, say who's against.
Okay, all opposed?
See?
Okay, passed by unanimous
Yes.
and vote. Okay, item 10, approval of the 2019 budget and special town meeting minutes. It's on the yellow piece of paper. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I so moved.
Was that you, Sandy?
By Mrs. Porter, Sandy Porter. Second.
Who was the second?
I didn't hear this.
Oh, Patrick?
Patrick. Okay, discussion? All in favor? And vote? Any opposed?
Yay, it's unanimous.
Yeah, motion carried by unanimous hand vote. Okay, motion for adjournment.
Yep.
Motion.
Rodell, I got Rodell and Sandy.
Don't all rush for it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. 8:30.
A long one.